How do I even begin to describe a day like this? A day filled with adventure, excitement, unexpected turns, splashes, and more. Well, there's no way to describe it. I'll just have to show it to you, one step at a time. This day started out like any other normal day. We were dinging out, and I just saw this crane on the way, but I didn't think anything of it. We just kept going. We finally made it to the mother of all blue holes. Let's see what's inside. Unfortunately, there really wasn't anything back here. I had been scoping this area out for weeks over Google Maps, Navionics, Bing Maps, and other sources. I was hoping this was going to be the absolute mother of all blue holes, but it was actually just pretty creepy. As well, this barracuda kept staying around me trying to scare me off or who knows what. That was a huge bust. Not the mother of all blue holes I was hoping for. This is Sweeting's Key, an area that was absolutely devastated by Hurricane Dorian. This pile is made entirely of conch. On our way out, I decided to film this crane that was out here building an island or doing something. I wasn't really sure what at the time, but it was fascinating. Seeing them literally out there making their own island that they can stand the cat on was pretty incredible. Each time it would dig down into the sand, large bubbles would come up, and before you'd know it, they'd come back up with this huge scoop of sand. The more I flew the drone, the more I began to realize and get a better picture of what was going on here. He wasn't making his own island out here. He was making the channel deeper so bigger boats can get into Sweeting's Key. These boats then become the lifeline of the entire island, both for food and supplies and travel, as well as tourism. And this area is fantastic for just that. Looking at all of these colors from up above is incredible. As well, seeing the shadows from the clouds go overhead. This guy had been out here working for several days. He'd be in this excavator for hours and hours at a time, completely isolated and on the edge. Honestly, I think this is a pretty incredible and dangerous job, but this guy was a pro and he kept working at it. We were pretty curious, so we kept getting closer, and one thing led to another. So we just asked him, hey, can we go for a ride? This is the wonderful thing about the Bahamas. People are so friendly here and so much fun. So before we knew it, we hopped on in, took a quick photo, and went for the ride of our lives. As he picked us up, I began to get a little bit nervous. What did we just get ourselves into? But he started out slow to show us he was in absolute control. Remember, this guy is a professional. But man, it was pretty scary being up here. It was so much fun, I couldn't believe it. I've never done anything like this before in my life. Just the sheer power of this excavator was absolutely mind-boggling. It picked us up and tossed us around like we were nothing. Which, compared to what it's used to doing, we kind of are nothing. This guy made it even more fun. He'd splash us down into the water and just narrowly avoid my dinghy. A minor scratch from this excavator would destroy it. But again, this guy's a professional. He knew what he was doing, and it was so much fun. We found more and more ways to make it interesting, going up and down and closer to the water and this and that. This is just an unforgettable memory for us. But eventually, we had our fun, and we were ready to leave. Before we did though, I promised him one thing that I knew he would love. A fresh Cubera snapper speared by me for him and his whole family for dinner. We arrived back at our favorite dive site. This time I had a flashlight with me. This time we get there and the current was surging up out of the blue holes. It was mesmerizing. So, without wasting any time, I hopped on in and look at it. I had to actually rock climb my way down just to get into this hole. There's so much sea life, fish life around. Most of these fish are drum and margate, and not really high on my list of fish that I'm going to target to spear, but still really cool to see. They all scatter when they see the light, but it's just so cool being able to explore an area like this and go a little bit deeper into where the darkness is, to be able to see around the shadows and everything that's in there, and you really never know what's in here. Honestly, my biggest fear is bumping up against another sea urchin, which luckily I'm pretty nimble and avoided. Heading back into some of these holes, you see all these schoolmaster snapper just everywhere, forming tight, curious little schools. Now it was time to dive on in and get my fish. I literally only grabbed the pole spear once, for one dive. I turned to Alicia and said, I'm gonna go get a fish, and here's exactly what happened. I dove down into the main chamber. I knew exactly where I needed to go. Now that I had the flashlight too, I could see in all these dark places that I couldn't normally. It gave me a significant edge in here, where all the other fish have their eyes adjusted into the darkness. I thought about spearing some of these fish that were further back in, but then I have to actually pull them all the way back out of this cave, which isn't something I really wanted to do. So instead I kind of just looked around, trying to see if there was any really big ones back here, but I wanted to get something in around the 10-pound range. Figured this would be perfect for my newfound friend and his whole family. So I started heading back up towards the exit, where I knew I would catch some Cubera snapper off guard. You see, they like to be around the edge of the light and the darkness so they can ambush other fish. But today, I was the one ambushing them. There's my target. I gotta be quick. Hit him! Now here's what actually happens though. You see, the fish actually moves when I go to take the shot. So when I shoot, I actually shoot ahead of the fish. But now that I've got this fish, it's fighting for its life. So it's trying to pull me back into the cave, do anything that it can. So I had to be quick and I had to be strong with it. Bringing it in, getting it up over the coral, and getting a hand into its gills is the best way to secure these fish. But this is the perfect eating size fish for this guy and his whole family. So happy for it, and it only took me one dive. That's what I absolutely love about this. From this angle, you can easily see the jaws on these things. These guys have gnarly teeth. I decided though I would do one last dive just back into a couple other of these holes. I really enjoy just exploring around them, even if I already have food. It's just cool to see all this fish life. You never know what you're gonna see. That's that whole column of tube worms right there. I decided to leave them alone today. But yeah, look at this. You never know where these caves are gonna go, what's around the corner, what's inside of a tube. It's pretty scary stuff, honestly, but the biggest thing for me is if I can feel the water being drawn from behind me, I know to avoid that area, because that means it could be sucking in. And the truth is, there's no sea monsters in these things. You just gotta be brave enough to go in there and experience it. And I just love this. Coming back up into the light, seeing a whole other world, and I'm out. Here we are back on his man-made island, handing him his own Cubera snapper. He's a big guy, but this was a pretty good sized fish to feed him. The guy was stoked, and I was so happy to be able to contribute and thank him for what he had done for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next adventure.